Now the next topic of our discussion is your gas refrigeration cycle. In the refrigeration and air conditioning chapter, we have to study two different types of refrigeration cycle. One is the gas refrigeration cycle and another one is the vapor compression refrigeration cycle, right? As we already say that what is the basic difference between gas refrigeration cycle and the vapor compression refrigeration cycle is, in the gas refrigeration cycle, the phase, the refrigerant which is flowing in the cycle in different components, whether it will be compressor or heat exchanger or evaporator or turbine, the phase that is flowing, the refrigerant which is flowing in the cycle is in the gaseous phase, right? But in the vapor compression cycle, in half of the cycle the phase is the liquid phase and in another half of the cycle the phase is the gaseous phase. This is the basic difference between these two. And if we talk about the gas refrigeration cycle, we say that it is working on Bell-Coleman cycle after a scientist. So it is, this gas refrigeration cycle works on the Bell-Coleman cycle, or we can say that it is a reversed Brayton cycle. The Brayton cycle we will study in the power plant subject of for the use of gas turbine. The gas turbine are working on the cycle which is known as Brayton cycle, and if I reversed that cycle, then the cycle is known as reversed Brayton cycle for the gas refrigeration system, right? So Brayton cycle we will discuss in the power plant, right? Now in this gas refrigeration cycle, we are using air as a refrigerant, right? And air can be treated as an ideal gas. So we are using the air as a refrigerant, and this cycle is used in the aircraft refrigeration, in the airplanes or in the aircraft for military and all. So this is used in the aircraft refrigeration system because of its low weight per ton of refrigeration. The gas refrigeration cycle or the reversed Brayton cycle is this property of this low weight per ton of refrigeration. That's why we are using this gas refrigeration cycle in the aircraft. Now if we talk about the basic difference between reversed Carnot cycle and reversed Brayton cycle. If we talk about, the only one difference which we do here is that in the reversed Carnot cycle, the heat transfer process are reversible isothermal process, right? The heat transfer, whether it will be in the condenser or it will be in the storage or the evaporator, the heat transfer process in that case is the reversible isothermal. But in case of reversed Brayton cycle, the heat transfer process are isobaric process, or you can say that it is reversible at constant pressure, right? Constant pressure process is there for the heat transfer in the reversed Brayton cycle. So if we say that this gas refrigeration cycle consists of four process, right? Four process, let us say process 1 to 2. First process is reversible adiabatic compression. Reversible adiabatic compression in your compressor, right? In your compressor. This is the first process, reversible adiabatic compression. Next process 2 to 3 is reversible, all the four processes are reversible isobaric at constant pressure, isobaric heat rejection, isobaric heat rejection in condenser. Next 3 to 4 is reversible adiabatic expansion, reversible adiabatic expansion in turbine. And last process 4 to 1 is reversible reversible constant pressure. Both the heat transfer process are constant pressure heat addition in evaporator, or you can say in storage, which you have to maintain at a temperature lower than that of the surrounding. These are the four processes which are in the reversed Brayton cycle. So let us see a line diagram for the reversed Brayton cycle. Suppose this is a line diagram. These are the various components. This is the compressor. This is your compressor. This is your condenser. This is turbine, and this is evaporator or storage, right? So we can say that this is the first process 1 to process 2. This is 1 to 2, right? In compressor, generally we show that in compressor, inlet is from the larger area and outlet is from the smaller area. That's why we can say that it compresses the air. Next is 2 to 3 is your heat rejection in the condenser. Next is 3 to 4. This is the 4 point. 3 to 4 is the expansion in the turbine. So in turbine we generally represent the turbine inlet at the smaller area and outlet at the larger area. And next 4 to 1 is in the evaporator, right? Now just pay attention here. Some of the things which I want to say is, let us say that WC is the work required by this compressor. Let us say WC is the work required by this compressor, and WT is the work produced by this turbine. WT is the work produced by this turbine. So what we do is, we coupled this compressor and turbine with a shaft. This is a shaft, right? If you do not couple it, then you need to install a motor to run this turbine, because this turbine will, you can say that if you do not couple this, what we can say is that this turbine work which this system is giving to us, let us say this is the system, this turbine work which is given by this system, we can use this turbine work to run this compressor. We can use, right? And generally from the basic understanding, you may appreciate that the work required by this compressor is more than the work produced by turbine. Obviously, if it is not the case, then we can say that if this WT is more than WC, then we can say that this system is giving you the refrigeration effect and producing some net work, right? Suppose if this WT is more than WC, if turbine is producing more work than compressor, let us say it is producing 100 units and compressor require only 80 units. So out of this 100 we can give to the compressor, and remaining 20 units is the work which is available to us, right? This is the work done by the system. So what we are saying, that this cycle will give you the refrigeration effect, that means it will be useful to carry the heat from low temperature to higher temperature, and it will give you some net work also. So this is the violation of the Clausius statement. This is the violation of the Clausius statement, because the Clausius statement says that if there is any device which is used to transfer the heat from lower temperature to higher temperature, then it must consume some heat, it must consume some work. Some work must be consumed. So that is understood that this WC will be more than WT, right? So what we are doing is, if let us say the work required by the compressor is more than the work produced by the turbine, let us say 100 units of the work is required by the compressor and this turbine is producing 60 units. So what we are doing is we are giving this turbine work to the compressor with the help of this shaft. This work is the extra work. This turbine work which you are getting is the extra advantage to you, right? So we are using this turbine work to run this compressor, and now what is the net work which we have to give to the system from outside? It requires 100 units. 60 units this cycle will manage from itself. Like you see here, from turbine work 60 units they are managing. So out of this 100, only 40 units is the net work which you have to give from the outside, right? Which you have to give from the external to the system. So we can say that from here, if I write that the net work which we have to give will be WC minus WT. If you are not using this turbine work to run this compressor, then what will happen? You have to give complete 100 units from the external to the system. But now if you are using this, then the net work requirement will be less. So if the net work requirement will be less, so obviously the COP will increase, the efficiency of the system will increase. So that's why we are using this turbine work to run this compressor. Right, this is, I hope this is understood by all of you. This is a basic concept, basic general thing. Now let us say the heat rejected by this condenser. Let us say it rejects the heat to the surrounding is QR, and heat supplied by this evaporator to the system is, let us say, QS. So this QS is the refrigerating effect, right? This QS is the refrigeration effect. The refrigeration effect. This QS is the refrigeration effect, and if you want to write the COP for this reversed Brayton cycle, this will be equal to what is the heat required to remove from the evaporator divided by net work. Just understand here, we have to write net work. Why? Because only this net work we have to give from the outside, right? Not WC. The W net we have to give from the outside. So the COP will be equal to QS divided by W net. This is the concept here, right? Now, next. In vapor compression cycle, you will find that when you will study the vapor compression cycle, you will find that instead of turbine, all these three components are same in the vapor compression also, but only one thing is there, that is the turbine. In gas refrigeration cycle, we are using adiabatic expansion in the turbine, but in vapor compression cycle, instead of this turbine, we are using a throttling device. Now we will discuss it in a separate lecture, that why you have to use the throttling device, not the turbine in case of vapor compression cycle. What is the advantage of using the throttling device, or what is the disadvantage of using throttling device in the gas refrigeration system? We will discuss it in detail, right? Now, if I say that this is your thing, now if I draw this process, this reversed Brayton cycle in PV and TS diagram. Let us plot the PV and TS diagram for this. Suppose, first of all, let us draw PV diagram. First of all, let us draw PV diagram, right? And this is the ideal reverse Brayton cycle. Why ideal? Because all the four processes are reversible. In actual case, these processes are never be reversible. So we will discuss it later, that what is the actual Brayton cycle when irreversibility is associated. But first of all, let us understand the ideal reversed Brayton cycle in which all the four processes are reversible. This is the PV diagram, right? So I am saying that we are saying that the first process 1 to 2 is reversible adiabatic compression in the compressor. So pressure will increase, volume will decrease. Let us say this is the 1 to 2, right? This process is 1 to 2, adiabatic compression. Next is isobaric heat rejection. At constant pressure, heat is rejection, and you know that from the basic concept that if you want to maintain a constant pressure and if heat is rejecting, then the volume will decrease, because to compensate your pressure difference, so temperature, so we can say if the heat is rejecting, temperature is decreasing, then pressure will be decreasing. So that's why you have to maintain, the volume will be decreasing. Why? Because if you see the ideal gas equation, PV is equal to RT, MRT. If this temperature is decreasing, if this temperature is decreasing and you have to maintain constant pressure, then obviously you have to decrease the volume, because M and R are constant. So volume will decrease. So we will say that process 2 to 3 at constant pressure is like this, a horizontal line, constant pressure, horizontal line, like this. Okay, we'll make it. This is the constant pressure line. This is process 2 to 3. This is third. Now we have adiabatic expansion in the turbine, adiabatic expansion in the turbine. So we can say that adiabatic expansion like this. This is, let us say, this is the adiabatic expansion. Pressure is decreasing, volume is increasing. This is 3 to 4, right? And 4 to 1 is the isobaric heat addition. If heat is adding, then volume will increase. This is process 4 to 1. This is process 4 to 1. So this is your concept of PV diagram for this reversed Brayton cycle. This is the PV diagram. Now, if I want to plot a TS diagram for this, let us draw a TS diagram. If your thermodynamics concepts are very good, then you won't face any problem in drawing PV diagram and the TS diagram of any process. We already studied the thermodynamics in detail, in very much detailed explanation will be there. So if you go through all these things, then drawing that PV diagram, phase diagrams is not a problem for you. Right, and when in this PV diagram and TS diagram, I am not showing that dome, that phase change dome, this type of dome. I am not showing this dome because there is no phase change. There is no phase change, so I eliminate this. And you know that if you are drawing this, then the dome will be here. This complete will be in the gaseous phase. This is complete in the gaseous phase, right? No need to show the dome here. Now first process is adiabatic compression. In compression, temperature will increase. Adiabatic reversible, then isentropic. So we can say, let us say, this is the process 1 to 2. A straight vertical line, because it is isentropic, entropy will remain constant. This is process 1 to 2. Process 1 to 2. Next is heat rejection. If heat is rejected, then temperature will decrease and it is constant pressure. The curve will be there like this. This is, let us say, 0.3. And I am drawing this in anti-clockwise sense because it is a work consuming cycle, right? 3 to 4 again adiabatic expansion, then a straight line, isentropic process, a straight line. Okay. Let us say this is 4, and 4 to 1 again constant pressure heat addition, and if heat is added then temperature will increase. So this is this one, 4 to 1, right? This process is 4 to 1. So this is a pressure volume diagram and temperature entropy diagram for the reversed Brayton cycle. Now if I say that here the work is consumed, WC work compressor, heat is rejected, that is QR, work done by the turbine, and heat is supplied, QS. And let us say that this constant pressure is P1, this constant pressure is P1, and let us say this constant pressure is P2. So this is working between P1 and P2, right? Similarly, I can say that this line is the line of constant pressure P1. This is P1 is equal to constant, and this line is the line of P2 is equal to constant. P2 is equal to constant, right? So this is the pressure volume and temperature entropy diagram. Hope you will understand. Now we will write some of the relations for the heat transfer work produced